let's get started. So, Edmund Spenser. We are jumping a couple of hundred years ahead now from Francesco Petrarch, right? We're jumping ahead because the Renaissance is now in full swing in England. And Spenser is one of those people who are writing sonnets. He's writing poetry as a career. He's actually from England, but he lived in Ireland most of his life. And he's most famous for a long poem called the Fairy Queen. There we go. Yeah. But we're going to talk today about sonnets. Now, he wrote a lot of sonnets, and again, they have kind of the same naming practice as what we saw with Francesco Petrarch, right? So this is just his 30th sonnet in this series of Amoretti. He wrote Amoretti, little love poems. Amor means love. Amoretti means little loves. And so, my love is like fire, or my love is like to ice and I to fire. Yeah, XXX in Latin is 30. 10, 20, 30, right? Okay, so sonnets in English are not usually divided up with breaks to make quatrains, but the subject matter is usually written out in quatrains. And you'll see here, it's very much the case. This first quatrain is 4 lines and it is 1 sentence. You'll find a similar grouping of thought in the other ones. That means there are specific things going on in each of those quatrains. Okay? So, let's start. My love is like to ice and I to fire. How comes it then that this, her cold, so great, is not dissolved through my so hot desire, but harder grows the more I her entreat? Okay. So, my love is like to ice and I to fire. That's a pretty simple start, right? My love is ice, I am fire. What does that suggest about the girl, the woman?
Her is the opposite trait.
Yes, and what kind of characteristic is it? How is she treating him? Yeah, she's not interested, right? But how does he feel? He's burning up, right? He's burning up. He's hot, right? He's burning up. So she's like ice and he's fire. So he says, so how come this, her cold, her such great cold is not dissolved through my so hot fire? Because what happens when fire meets ice? The ice melts, right? In theory, the hot fire would melt ice. And so he's saying, well, if I'm burning so hot for her, why is she still so cold? Why hasn't she melted, right? But grows harder the more I pursue her. Boys, let me tell you, this is how women work, okay? He's saying something now that's an eternal truth. Usually the harder you chase a girl, the faster she will run away. So you might think that you're a fast runner, you're a track and field star, but if you run after a girl who's not so interested, you'll never catch her. Never catch her, okay? So that's what he's talking about here in this first quatrain. In the second, well, actually before we go on, are there any questions about this? There is something here about syntax. The order of the words is not quite normal speech. We have something called inverted syntax, where the words are rearranged in an odd fashion. It's partially to make the rhyme scheme. It's partially to create different sounds, to make the words almost sometimes trip over your tongue so you're forced to focus on them and concentrate on them. And sometimes they just think this sounds pretty. Quatrain 2. Or how comes it that my exceeding heat is not delayed by her heart frozen cold, but that I burn much more in boiling sweat and feel my flames augmented manifold. It says, first quatrain, why isn't she melting? Second quatrain, why am I still so hot? If it's more cold, if there's more cold than there is fire, if there's a big snowstorm, but there's only a little tiny fire, it would put out the fire, right? He's saying, well, okay, if she's so cold, why am I not made cold too? Right? So my exceeding heat is not delayed by her cold, frozen heart, right? But that I burn much more in boiling sweat. His sweat is virtually boiling, right? If you took an egg and you put it on his chest, like in this little spot in your chest, it could boil the egg, right? It's so hot. He's so passionate, right? And feel my flames augmented manifold. Augment means to make stronger. Manifold, mane means many. Fold, times. Manifold, many times. Made stronger many times. Okay. All right, so that's what he's talking about here. First, I'm so hot for her, but she's not melting. Second, why am I still so hot? Because she's so cold. I should get frozen too. 3, what more miraculous thing may be told that fire, which all things melts, should harden ice, and ice, which is congealed with senseless cold, should kindle fire by wonderful device. Okay, here, now he's saying, what a miracle it is. I'm still so hot and burning hot. She's still so cold. We're not canceling each other. It's a miracle, right? Okay, fire, which melts all things, should actually harden ice. It's not melting the ice, it's making the ice harder. And ice, which normally is congealed with senseless cold, it's congealed, it doesn't move. It has super cold senselessness. Should make fire by its coldness, by a wonderful device. That's a good question. How does that sort of thing work? It's a paradox, right? It's a paradox. But here's the thing. Stanza 1, or quatrain 1, stanza 1, gives one idea. Quatrain 2 gives another idea. Quatrain 3, what does quatrain 3 do, actually? It doesn't give just one idea in the same way that quatrains 1 and 2 do. What does it do? What's different from this quatrain? Yes?
Tries to summarize the questions in quatrain 1 and 2.
Yeah, it does. It goes back and it sort of summarizes quatrains 1 and 2, right? Okay. You'll find this structure in most English sonnets. You'll have one idea in the first quatrain, one idea in the second quatrain, and then you'll have some sort of volta. Remember volta? Some sort of change. You'll have some sort of change or summary in the third quatrain. Okay. And that's what you're getting here. And then finally, such is the power of love in gentle mind, that it can alter all the course of kind. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, but such is the power of love in gentle mind. That is the power of love. That it can alter all the course of kind. That it can change the natural world. It can make fire into ice and ice into fire.
Oh, element.
Yeah, just like the movie Elemental. No. So he's saying here, this is a conclusion, and it comes in 2 lines. And we call it, if it is iambic, pentameter, we call it a heroic couplet. Also, too, it has to have rhyme scheme where they're the same rhyme. Kind, mind, right? That makes it a heroic couplet. Okay, iambic pentameter, the same rhyme. All right, so tell me, how many lines was that poem? Don't look, don't count, just 14, right? 14, okay? 4, 4, 4, 2, okay? Same line number as Francesco Petrarch, right? But totally different structure. What was the structure, remind me, of Petrarch's?
4, 4, 3, 3.
Yeah, octave and sestet. So 8 and 6, right? This is 4, 4, 4, 2, okay? Simple, so simple, right? The only thing is, these are becoming more complex because these were written in English. Okay? So the language will be a little bit more tricky, especially the inverted syntax. Okay? So before I let you start working on this worksheet, do you have any questions about the structure or the overall meaning of the poem or any vocabulary that you do not understand? Go ahead and take a look and tell me. Yeah, is there any vocabulary you don't understand?
Congealed with senseless cold.
Okay, congealed with senseless cold. All right, quatrain 3, line 3. Okay, ice. What ice does, which is congealed with senseless cold. Okay. Congealed is, okay, when you take something like, I don't know, like a chu. Yeah, and it's all, when it's hot and it's fresh, it is like a soup almost, right? But if you let it sit and get cold, it's really thick, right? Or even better, oatmeal. You guys have had oatmeal before, right? If you eat oatmeal when it's hot and fresh and wet, it's edible, right? But if you let it sit and get cold, it gets really hard and it gets too thick to eat, right? That is congealed.
Huh?
From liquid to...
Kind of like to a solid, right? Okay.
It's hard to eat.
Yeah. It's not exactly the same as freezing though. Like to go from, like for water to be liquid to freezing to being hard, it doesn't congeal. Congeal means to slowly get harder. Okay. And then senseless cold means no sense, means unfeeling, no feeling. Why is it senseless cold? Because she doesn't feel anything for him. She doesn't care.
Indifferent.
Indifferent. Exactly. Right? See, look on the picture here. You can see. Look how she doesn't care. She doesn't care. You can tell. So. Well, yeah, that's this lower image is kind of misleading, isn't it? So, and you can see down here the AI attempt at putting English or something language. Hugologo final emerald ho 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 ho. I don't know. I have no idea what it says. So, ho ho ho. It's like Santa Claus. All right. Anything else? No. Yes, sir.
I cannot understand these 4 lines.
These 4 lines. Okay. So he's saying. Remember, quatrain 1 says, "I'm so hot. She's so cold. Why doesn't she melt? Why doesn't her heart grow warm?" Quatrain 2 says, okay, if she's so cold, then I should be discouraged, right? I should feel bad and I should just go away. I should become cold too. But I don't, and she doesn't. So it must be a miracle. It must be a miracle when you can say that fire hardens ice and ice kindles fire. Kindle. Remember we had the word kindle before, right? In Sonnet 90. Kindle means to start a fire, right? So to start a fire with this wonderful device, right? Yeah, he doesn't understand it. He thinks it's wonderful and beautiful, which means he's not giving up. Okay? So it's a miracle that fire hardens ice, and ice, no, let's go to blue. And ice kindles fire. Okay? So it's a miracle. It's a miracle that fire hardens ice and ice kindles fire. Okay? You can take literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, summarize that whole thing, basically, right? Okay?